What's going on, guys? Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody had a super blessed day spent with their family and their friends. Well, today we're back on the channel with our big block Chevelle. The last episode, we started chopping up the interior of that thing, getting our floor pans modified so we could get our front seats mounted. Well, today we're gonna be shifting our focus to the rear. We're gonna be modifying some bomber seats before we start tackling some heavy fab work to get our steering column and our pedal setup mounted. So I bought these aluminum bomber seats off Summit. These were the cheapest ones I could find. But we did something very similar. Matter of fact, we did the same thing in our twin turbo Chevelle. It worked out pretty well. Basically, we're gonna be using this seat and cutting it apart and modifying it and using the material from the seat to make a new seat. I was kind of hoping it would fit a little bit better than it is, but yeah, we're gonna be chopping this thing up. It's very close to fitting in between our rear tub and our transmission tunnel, the base. As a matter of fact, it's hitting this back wall right now on the back of the seat. And as you see, there's not a whole lot of room in between our front of our back seat and the back of the front seat. So we're gonna be trying to slide that thing towards the back of the car a little bit, and also making the back position backwards a little tiny bit. So we're gonna be cutting it up, bending it, welding it to get this thing to kind of fit, and then we're going to build up our center console area to match the back of that luggage tray up top. I believe this whole assembly here is out of an Impala, same as the dash, so it's a little bit different than our other Chevelle, but let's see if we can't get something to work out here. All right, we got our bomber seat cut apart, re-welded on the back piece to our butt pad here. I welded on an angle down here. That's going to be a mounting point. We're going to mount it here, and now I'm going to come up with a mounting point in the back. That way we could lean this back a little bit, and we'll go ahead and bolt it right into our back wall of our tunnel section. Once we get that thing set, then we'll start building off on our sides. I may kind of bring this back around a little bit, tweak that, fill in these gaps, and then bring up the sides a little. I think this should work out pretty well, and we'll keep it rolling. All right, we got passenger side seat looking pretty much like the driver's side, or really rear driver's side. We got our two little wings here kind of mocked up. I got some timing marks indicating where they're gonna go, because I'm gonna take the seat out, bring it back over to my welding table, go ahead and get some tacks on it. I'm probably gonna end up cutting some of the meat off the top here and possibly kind of maybe adding a flange onto it. So if you kind of picture, this will be an armrest down the center. Definitely don't need it as deep as this. There's gonna be some padding, but I'm probably gonna get with Lee before I go going much further with this. I'm kind of imagining this back section right here rolled over flat, and a piece going in between the two all the way up to the top of our package tray. But at least now we kind of have an idea what's going on back here. Obviously this is gonna have to get all closed in, so this will be kind of like a big armrest on both sides. But yeah, this is very similar to what we did on our twin turbo Chevelle. Like I said, I'll get with Lee and make sure, you know, we're kind of cruising down the right direction for him, and then we could finalize all this. I got my tab on the back of the backrest over here, so we got to get that welded on,
and that's about it, man. These seats are actually slightly different. This section right here is kind of bent up a little bit more than that, so I might try to fix that before I go any further as well. But I think it's gonna work out. Not much of a back seat, it's more just for looks. The back of our front seat comes to here, so not much room to put your feet. It's kind of like a Porsche. But yeah, that's it. Custom, baby, let's go.
All right, well, Brady was busy working on getting our cab closed off from the trunk area. Andrew and I were busy up front working on and under the dash.
We're moving on to some new stuff that we're adding into our cockpit of our Chevelle, like our steering column. Andrew's over there messing around with our pedal assembly. We picked up a tilt-in pedal assembly. It's got the upper mount on it, so I think we're gonna be putting some kind of bar underneath to mount the pedal assembly. We have a mock-up blower unit from Restomod AC. I'm gonna go ahead and get that thing kind of positioned in there, get that thing mounted to our firewall. So we're just gonna keep on moving, man. We got in touch with our buddies over at Sicky Engineering. I ordered a relocation kit for the transmission, for the shifter position. So that's gonna be sliding back about 9 inches. We did order a handbrake, so we got a bunch of stuff to get positioned and settled down in the interior. So just doing a whole bunch of mocking up right now at this moment. Got anything you want to add, Andrew?
No, I think you covered it. Those are the things that we're working on. Let's go.
All right, let's go.
I'm going to be working on getting the steering column and our pedal box mounted. One thing I got to note, this dash is, I believe, out of an Impala or a Bel Air? Impala. Yeah, this is an Impala dash, I believe. Someone who knows more, you can let me know, but I know it's not a Chevelle dash, that's for sure. So what I'm going to be doing right now is pulling the dash out so I can access underneath here. We're going to have to do a lot of custom stuff here with our steering column as well as the pedal box. None of the original bracketry is left under here. We have one mount that used to hold the steering column, the original steering column, which is the main reason why I'm pulling the dash out, so I can cut this guy out to give me room to make my mounting for all these parts. I'm going to try and make a combination mount that's going to mount our pedal box and our steering column. The best way to achieve this is by adding what they call a dash bar. Most late modern vehicles, if you've ever pulled the dash out of your car, you'll see a large structure, whether it be a bar with a lot of different brackets attached to it, but either way, it goes from A pillar on the passenger side all the way across to the A pillar on the driver's side. And typically everything underneath the dash is mounted to it. So whether it be the steering column, the HVAC box, provisions for harness mounting, electronics, ECUs, body control modules, fuse boxes, all those type of things that you'll find in a late model car would typically be bolted to a dash bar that's ran behind your dashboard. So we're gonna go with that same style of design. So I'm gonna pull this away, start cutting out the material that I don't need up here, and then start designing something that's going to position our steering column how we want it and mount the pedals how we want them. You can see here we've got a cinch style clamp mount here that is going to support the steering column, as well as the firewall mount that is going to have a uniball that's going to sit inside our firewall, so that'll be supported there. I also want to give this steering column adjustability as well. So the bracketry that's going to hold it will have multiple holes in the diameter of this pinch bolt to allow adjustment either down or up to suit the driver as needed, or multiple drivers. So I've got the factory sheet metal pulled off of here, drilled off the spot welds, pulled off about 3 brackets from this area, and now I'm going to probably start cleaning up the metal on the inside here on the A-pillar area and start designing out what my bar is going to look like that we're going to put across here for our dash bar that's going to mount and hold our pedal box as well as the steering column. All right, so I've got our tubing cut for our dash bar. It's cut a little bit long at this moment, but once I figure out the bends that it's gonna have, I'll be able to cut it to the length that I need it. Right now I'm on the plasma table cutting some end plates. All right, those end plates are tacked into place. Now it's time to start bending out our tubing. So I've got a section about 6.5 feet. Get rid of this noise. So I've got a section here about 7 feet long. What I want to do is to capture my pedal mount assembly at the proper forward and aft position, right? So towards the firewall, towards the driver. I have to kick my bar back about 4 inches. Okay, so I'm going to use 45-degree bends. I've already started bending, but I've got my first bend, 45, and then a second 45 to get the bar coming back straight again. I've offset the center line, right? So the center line of my tubing here is 4 inches to give me the distance I need to the firewall. So with it kicked back already, now I have to kick it back forward again so it can line up with the other side. Another small constraint that I have to work with is our Restomod HVAC box. So what I'm gonna have to do is add another small kick up in this area just so I can get past our hosing, because if I did come straight across, it would run right into this area here and it blocked this stuff. So I have to kick the tubing back up. I'm on a different plane, right? Because that one goes forward and then this one has to kick up and then back down. So a little bit tricky, but with the right measurements, we will be great. Bar is installed. I trimmed it to fit. It's fitting real tight and real good. I was a little worried about getting the kick up in time for these vents, but it was just enough, you know, because the amount of distance I can have between each bend is limited. So I really wasn't sure if I left a little bit more space here than I had wanted to. So then I was like, oh man, how am I gonna get this bend up in time? But it worked out and we're good. That's all set. Yeah, the next thing to do, I've got my bolts holding on my flanges in here. So next thing I have to do is get these tacked in here, and then I can go ahead and final weld them in, off and out of the car. All right, bar's tacked in. Now I gotta pull it back out and final weld it. Then we'll move on to getting the rest of the box, the structure that I'm gonna be building for the pedal box. So The whole purpose of this bar was to create a solid structure to mount our pedal system to. We wanted to stay away from mounting to the firewall because we didn't want to have any of the reservoirs poking out in the engine bay. We're running a remote style reservoir, like I had mentioned before, that we're going to be mounting in a different location. So I'm hoping to be able to create something that we can make adjustments to the pedal height, up and down, as well as forward and back. So I cut the bracket off, moved it about 3 inches here, and then I drilled another set of holes for my mounting, 3/4 inch offset the other way. So I bolted it in the further hole while it's welded here, so that was like the maximum amount that I allowed myself there. And the pedals were too close. The pivot point at the top was touching the firewall here. But luckily I made those other holes, so I was able to unbolt it, move it forward another 3/4 inches, and now my pedal clears without hitting up here at this pivot point. We're still in a good comfortable area with our foot, or you know how far we are. Really the main thing here was getting the height proper. We have full stroke of our pedal, as you can see. Tilton also has this built-in pedal stop here, so we'll use that if we need to, you know, take some of the throw out of the pedal. And then, you know, obviously these are already hanging at their, you know, the master cylinder's not in there, so they'll rest here, and you'll get full throw of our master. Same thing with our clutch pedal. Plenty of room to get this thing to disengage. I think I might make another bracket just to hold this up so I can get some exact measurements, and we'll mount this thing nice and level, parallel to the ground. Cool. Oh yeah, dude. Perfection. Alright, so moving forward with getting our pedal box finalized, I had to break out the steering column to make sure that all that stuff fits up as well. I had to move my my pedal box over to the right about 1 inch. You can see I cut my original tabs and moved this over. The reason for that is because my reservoir here from my brake master cylinder would have interfered with our steering column at this angle here. I think that we're going to end up being maybe another inch or so lower. So this is going to change, but I didn't want it to ever interfere. Next thing I got to do is make sure that the structure I'm going to build out to hold our secondary column mount is going to clear our dash. I'm pretty sure it is, because this dash is actually, I mean, it's way out here. It's probably 4 or 5 inches out from where the original dash location is. Because like I said before, this is an Impala, I think, dash. Don't quote me, I'm not 100% sure. I want to see also how much of the steering column I have protruding out of the dash. It really doesn't matter, because in the end it's just going to be what's comfortable for the driver. Alright, got the dash back in. Got our little mock-up steering wheel here and our hub, our quick release hub. Everything's feeling real good. Like I had mentioned before, we're a little bit high. This is probably the maximum height that we'll ever use as far as the angle of the column. So, you know, everything, it's just extremely comfortable. Coming off of the accelerator pedal, brake, plenty of room for the knee to come up. So that's cool. It's really good, especially with over 800 horsepower and then under the hood of this thing, you definitely need to be using that brake. So still room for it to come down, like I said, which, you know, he might want to do. Shifter, we're getting a nice relocated shifter about 7-8 inches back, so that thing's going to be, you know, right here, clicking gears. It's going to be nice. So we'll pull the dash back out, starting to figure out how I'm going to get that secondary mount coming off of our dash bar to hold the column, and then also start taking all the measurements to build out the pedal box. So I think all the mock-up and testing is done, and now we can go to measurement and then design, and then we'll build. right, so steering column hoop, support hoop is welded in, finalized, and now I'm ready to start making my bracketry for our pinch clamp here. So I'm just going to be making a double shear deal, so some 1-inch half moon shapes, and then a drop down. One thing I do have to do, as you can see, my pinch area here where the bolts come in is narrower than the column itself. So if I want to have these come down, I actually have to have some sort of spacer in here. So I'm gonna have to cut some spacers to allow this to, you know, have a little bit more width to it. So that's one thing I have to remember to do. Machine some spacers in here that allow the bracket I have to sit on the outside of our tube diameter. So I'll take that measurement from whatever this is to here. We'll cut out some spacers. I'm not sure if I'll use aluminum or steel or whatever material I have, and then be able to fit into our bracket. I have to take some measurements. As you can see, I'm not directly underneath the tubing like I had hoped for. I'm probably off, I don't know, a few thou, something, 10, 20 thou. So I'm gonna have to account for that. So I'm gonna have to measure that offset there. And then I'm also gonna have to kind of map out the arc in which, as this comes down, I'm gonna allow it to come down probably 2 inches, maybe 3. I don't know, 2 inches, maybe 3 inches, because, you know, 2 inches here is a lot more on the end of this, right? Because we're in the middle of the leverage point, or the fulcrum. All right, so our lowering tabs have been tacked up. I've cut out 3 different increments that we can lower our steering column. Right now, like I mentioned, this is up at its highest. We can drop it down about another inch here. I didn't do any math to understand what the actual end of the steering column would end up dropping, but I think that we should be good with these 3. There is room, I believe, for 1 more notch of adjustment if we need to go lower, but I don't think we will. And yeah, so this is looking real good. I'll final weld this stuff here, and then we'll move on to getting the pedal box mounting finalized. Probably the most comfortable part with me.
All right, guys, our steering column is feeling great. Our pedals are in the right position. Everything is lining up just the way we planned it. So that means next week we're gonna be finalizing all that work. We're gonna be making a custom pedal box. We're also gonna be hopping into the engine bay to get our steering column mounted up. And we might even be starting on those custom headers. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next week. Out.